I'd like to make an apology before I begin. We are both going to be using this microphone because this is being taped, and we want everyone on the sort of webcast to be able to hear us as well. But I feel really funny holding a microphone. I'm very Oprah-esque right now, so I apologize. We won't be talking about anyone's feelings just yet. And if you look under your chair, there's absolutely nothing. But I think it's really great being here. I'm Matt Weingarten with the Regional Programs team, and this is Lauren Koresha. We'll do some more introductions a little bit later. But this is both our first volunteer caucus, and I think what's really great about this space is the enthusiasm in the rooms, in the halls, beginning, end. People are really excited to talk and reconnect with each other. And I think in some ways, that's really what our session is about, is capitalizing on that enthusiasm that exists here on campus and taking it out to local communities and clubs and so on. So the other piece is about making it easier to volunteer. And I think that those two components are what, at the end of this session, we'd really like you to walk away with. So I'm going to sort of introduce our team, and in doing so, I'm also going to introduce this concept of regional programs, period. We're a new team in that we used to work in sort of separate areas throughout the division, and recently leadership brought us together, and I think in some ways it's an opportunity for us to share best practices more easily with each other. And something that Laura Haynes mentioned this morning was this idea that it's important for you as volunteers to be supported by staff. In working together as a cohesive team, we're able to then say, this is a great thing happening in this part of the country. How can we make it happen in another part of the country very accessibly? So I'm going to quickly go through our staff who are throughout the room. I'm trying to identify them quickly. Our director, Renee Fennell, who many of you may know. Renee also works in the sort of southeast part of the United States. Towards the back, we have Teresa Ebenhow, who works in sort of Chicago and a couple of the Midwest states. Sarah Saperstein, who works in a very large portion of the country. Our colleague, Alex Quintero, who works on the West Coast, is not here. He's actually attending 2 different Harper lectures over this weekend. I'm sorry? Oh, and Stephanie, I'm sorry, Vinskoski. Anybody who has ever received an event box from our office, Stephanie has been very involved in making that a smooth process, and so we really appreciate that. Again, I'm Matt Weingarten, and I work with folks in the East Coast, primarily Washington, D.C. area, as well as Boston, and I'm going to turn it over to Lauren to introduce herself.
Sure. And as Matt said, we kind of tag team the Mid-Atlantic, so I work with our clubs from Connecticut down through Delaware, and I'm stationed in our New York office. So I am also excited to be back on campus. I would like to say back home, if you wouldn't mind me saying that, and I'm very excited to be here. As Matt said, there's just so much enthusiasm here this weekend, and just a quick demographic poll, and this is from last week, so these numbers are probably updated as well. We have people from both coasts, Penn University. We have a 50-year span just in this audience as well. We have parents, friends, and current students. So that says so much, and it's so encouraging to us as we work alongside you on the ground in these different regions. So getting to what we do and why we're here today, we're going to be talking about our club events, very specific programming options for not only the regions, but the different alumni clubs. So you can use this for ASC, for affinity programs. They're a base foundation that you can take and be very creative. So just a quick review of the definition of the club events from our volunteer handbook. It's open to all alumni, parents, friends, anyone who's interested in UChicago in your region. And again, we promote them to the wider regional community. What we're going to do today is we're just setting the stage to have the discussion about these kind of events. What's worked? How can we share best practices? our team gets together regularly, and we're very excited about what you're doing. Many of you have been working in these regions for a long time, and you're doing some pretty amazing events. And many of you are very new, and you come in with these very creative and new ideas. And we talk about them, and we thought that you needed a forum so you could talk about them as well. So what we did is we took 5 basic ideas, and we really drilled them down just to have a basic outline of what we're doing. We prepared these outlines for you on these 5 examples. And what we can do is we'd like you to workshop them today and give us your feedback and say, this is what worked in our region, this is what we do, we'd like to share these successes. And again, talking about what Laura talked about this morning, we created these to provide you with the resources that you need to succeed.
So before we break into those groups, we just wanted to go over a few little parameter pieces. And we titled this slide, "Why Did These Events Succeed?" And in some respects, we could have very easily said, why did we pick these 5 events? In a lot of ways, we see these 5 events as being the basic structure for any event. So a book club could potentially be transferred into some other type of small networking type conversation. A happy hour that's for young alumni could very easily be turned into a business networking happy hour, and very easily turned into maybe like a speed interview type hour. So we wanted to create events that maximized basic resources, your time, your energy, the individual's attendings, financial situations, so that it's not necessarily the most expensive, not always. We know that free isn't always an option, so we wanted to create some structure that helped that piece, and also maximize the number of volunteers needed to create the events. The idea is that these would also highlight individual alumni, it would highlight regional qualities, and that they could also be used to create unique connections amongst the alumni community in your particular areas. The other 2 components are really about increasing awareness of the club and making sure that that brand exists in your local communities, so that I think maybe President Zimmer last night referred to the concept of Harvard never being spoken of. We can speak of Chicago, and so I think that these events provide this great outlet for us to do so, and they also provide opportunities for volunteers to develop and grow as individuals. These provide that basic structure for a new person to sit there and go, oh, this is what I need to do to put on a great event that has been consistently proven to be valid through a variety of rubrics. In terms of the goals of all of our events, it's always about engaging the local community and bringing that connection back to campus into your local space. It's about building traditions that can grow and change as your group becomes larger, becomes smaller, becomes more specific in its focus. It's about meeting prospective volunteers and then also making it easy not only for them to become new volunteers, new officers in your club maybe, but also for longtime volunteers to follow some kind of system. And so I think that's the overall goal of these particular documents. And now that we've quickly done this wonderful introduction and you've been so entertained by us, we want to transition into where you actually talk about them.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to break out into 5 roundtable discussions. We're going to challenge you to think critically, but also constructively when looking at these documents. Look at them from a few different perspectives. If you're a longtime volunteer, tell us if these are great or if we missed the mark or we should have included something. If you're a new volunteer, tell us, if you handed this to me, I could run with this event and we could make it work with maybe 2 volunteers, or if we had a team of 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk within our groups for about 15 to 20 minutes. Please give us your feedback and your edits. Our team will then finalize these documents and then share them throughout the regions and the different clubs. And then for the last 10 or 15 minutes, we'd like to bring it back so we can have a group discussion and you can provide us with your feedback. And perhaps if you'd like to share successes that you found in our region, I'd like to give a little plug to New York, and we have our book club volunteer here. They just celebrated their 20th anniversary. So there's a lot of success to share, and we'll stop talking so you can start.
Are you also looking for ideas for
Absolutely.
facilities? Because one of the things I think would be nice if the university could provide is a facility for webinars.
Okay.
So that we don't have to go and get our own and spend the money. If you had something that people could use or clubs could use where we could have webinars, that way we could do things regionally, people could call from their offices or whatever, do something at lunchtime. If you could, so we don't have to worry about traffic problems and stuff like that.
Yes, that's a great idea, or conference
And I
calls.
think those are the kinds of conversations that we'd really like to have happen.
Right, and again, these outlines are very general, and we would like you to think creatively, as Matt was talking before, as how these can help you address the needs and the wants in your community.